Hey, what is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about 10 things Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4. Now guys, Fallout is one of my favorite games of all time. It's something that we've talked on the channel for a very long time about, whether it be Fallout or Bethesda talk videos. It's something that we've talked about for a very long time on this channel. And today, I want to talk about 10 things Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4. Now keep in mind, when I am making this video, I am not making it to say Fallout 4 is a bad game. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to hate on Fallout 4 or anything like that. So guys, let's start talking about 10 things that I think Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4. So let's start with the first one. I thought Fallout New Vegas had an excellent reputation and karma system. You know, Fallout 4 really didn't have a karma system at all. You know, the Fallout New Vegas karma system, you know, if you did good things might happen. If you did bad things might happen to you. You know, and it changes stuff in the world as well, minor stuff, but nothing too major. And I thought that was really cool. That was in Fallout. I thought that was something that was really cool. That was in Fallout New Vegas, which wasn't in Fallout 4. Also, the reputation system in Fallout New Vegas, I thought was far better than the one in Fallout 4. You had this reputation in Fallout New Vegas. You had this reputation system in Fallout New Vegas, which basically you could be, you know, like on a spectrum with certain factions. You know, they could hate you and love you at the same time. They could completely hate you. They could love you. They could not care for you. You know, they could idolize you. They could do this. They could do that. You know, it was never between the two. Either they hate you, they love you, or they don't know who you are. You know, I really liked the reputation system in Fallout New Vegas, where you could be on a spectrum, you could be hated and loved at the same time and stuff like that. To where if you move into Fallout 4, either the group loves you, hates you, or doesn't know who you are, and you have not associated with that group yet. You know, there's really no in between on the two groups. You know, either the group hates you or the group loves you. And doing the main quest in the game, you know, obviously, you know, if you join the Minutemen or the Brotherhood, the Institute, or the Railroad, you know, they kind of all, what do you call it, collide with each other, if you will. They kind of all intersect with each other, and you could really only choose one faction to join. You know, you really can't be great with one of them and great with another. You know, it's kind of destroys your reputations with other groups. To our Fallout New Vegas, that really didn't happen. Sure, you had to choose between two major groups in it, like Caesar's Legion or NCR, or joining and taking over, you know, New Vegas for yourself. There's three options. I thought those were really cool options in Fallout New Vegas. But like I said, you know, in Fallout 4, you know, the reputation system was kind of weird and wonky in my opinion. Either the group hated you, loved you, or really didn't care for you. You couldn't really be associated with one group and still be accepted by another. You could, you know, like there's certain factions where they don't, you know, are not enemies with each other, but most of the factions, if you join one, you're pissing one off, and you really can't be friends with one group if you're friends with another, if that makes sense. To where in Fallout New Vegas, you can be friends with one group, you can be friends with another, and stuff like that, and I thought that was really cool, and something well executed in Fallout New Vegas. Now guys, let's talk about the second thing I think Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4, and I'm going to try to speed things up here so I don't spend too much on one topic, so this doesn't turn into like a 30 or 40 minute video. So with that said, I think the second thing Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4 was ammo types and weapons. I felt that the Fallout 4 basically weapon system was lacking compared to the Fallout New Vegas system, although you do have much more freedom to create, you know, a weapon that you want in Fallout 4. You really don't have the same freedoms as you do in Fallout New Vegas, to where you could mod your weapon. You know, you could put really cool attachments on it and take them off when you don't need them, or leave them on there when you need them and stuff like that. You know, Fallout New Vegas, in my opinion, had a much better weapon system. I felt that the Fallout New Vegas system had a much more variety of weapons. You know, there are more than 2 types of shotguns in the game. If you look at Fallout 4, I believe there's only actually 2 types of shotguns in the game. You know, in Fallout 4, there was only the combat shotgun and there was the double barrel shotgun. You know, there weren't as many rifles, there weren't as many pistols as there are in Fallout New Vegas, which is why I feel Fallout New Vegas had a much more complete weapon system than Fallout 4. You know, also the ammo types. I think the ammo types were much cooler in Fallout New Vegas. In fact, Fallout 4 didn't have different ammo types. All you had was ammo for that gun. There were really no variants for it. Sure, there was 10mm ammo, 38, 5.56, whatever you have you in Fallout 4, but there weren't variants for it, like armor piercing, dragon breath. There wasn't, hollow point. There wasn't, certain, there wasn't pulse slugs. There wasn't any of that, because I feel like Fallout New Vegas had a much more complete weapon system, and I really like the ammo types, because if you would run into certain enemies, you could switch up your ammo type and do more damage to them. In Fallout 4, I really felt like the enemies were bullet sponges almost, and you would just basically fight bullet sponges everywhere you went, because you really only had one type of weapon, or you basically only had one type of ammo to deal with them. You really didn't have a wide variety of ammo like you do in Fallout New Vegas. And that's what I think. The second thing that I think Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4 was a much more complete weapon system with ammo types. That's just my opinion. So guys, I'm going to have to start speeding things up because we're already pretty late into the video. So moving on to the next thing, I think interesting factions in Fallout New Vegas was something much more well executed than Fallout 4. With Fallout 4, there's about 4 factions: Brotherhood, Minutemen, you also have the Railroad, and the Institute. With Fallout New Vegas, there are a bunch of different factions. You have the Powder Gangers, Great Khans, you have NCR, you have Caesar's Legion, you have Mr. House, which is kind of a faction on his own. You also have Yes Man, which is basically you taking over the Wasteland. You also have the other factions like the Boomers, the Brotherhood of Steel, the Followers of the Apocalypse, and you also have the Enclave Remnants. So you got a lot more factions in Fallout New Vegas than you have in Fallout 4. We only see about 4 factions in Fallout 4. Sure, there are other ones, but not really as much as you can interact with and do quests for like you can with Fallout New Vegas. And I find the factions in Fallout New Vegas to be more well developed, have better quests, be more interesting, and stuff like that than compared to Fallout 4. Now guys, moving on to the next thing, I think Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4. NPCs. I think the NPCs in Fallout New Vegas were much more fun, much better. You know, a lot of Fallout 4's NPCs were essential. They either owned a shop, which helped you get a rare weapon. You couldn't kill most of them, They all, seem to have a quest for you, Really, a lot of the NPCs in Fallout 4 were extremely important. Sure, there were ones that weren't, but there are a lot more NPCs in Fallout 4 that are important than not important, obviously excluding the enemies. For the most part, most of the NPCs are really important. You can't kill some of them. To where Fallout New Vegas, you can do that. Not every NPC is essential. Not every NPC plays a special role in the game, but with Fallout 4, it feels like almost every NPC you run into is essential, plays an important role in the game, and stuff like that. And that's just something I think Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4, was with their NPCs. They were much cooler to interact with. They had much more of a personality than they do with Fallout 4, and that's just my opinion. Moving on to the next thing, I think Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4, companions. I loved the companions much more in Fallout New Vegas than Fallout 4. Sure, I loved a lot of people like, in the Fallout 4, I loved a lot of people like Preston Garvey, who else? I'm trying to think of her name. Kate. You had Kate. I really liked a lot of the followers in Fallout 4. They had really cool, interesting stories, Nick Valentine, stuff like that. They had really cool, interesting stories and stuff like that. Certain stuff you would have to do for them. But then you go into Fallout New Vegas, and the followers are just much more well-developed, in my opinion. They have good backstories, like Boone, and a couple of other ones, like Rex and Cassidy. You also had Raoul and Lily, Eddie, Veronica, and I believe Arcadia. Arcade is his name, I'm not sure. You had much more followers to select from in Fallout New Vegas than you did in Fallout 4, in my opinion. You know, they were all interesting, they were all unique, they were all cool, in my opinion. And in Fallout 4, sometimes they're not all that interesting. Sometimes they don't have the best quest. I love some of the companions, like Kate, probably my favorite companion in the Fallout franchise ever. But then you look at somebody like Boone from the Fallout New Vegas, and you look at the other companions in Fallout New Vegas, and they're much more well developed. They seem to have a much better backstory that comes with them. They seem to be a much better companion to have than the ones we see in Fallout 4. Now, moving on to another one, and I think it's the most important, is probably good DLCs. We've seen a couple of good DLCs with Fallout 4, like Nuka World and Far Harbor, and then the other ones were basically all workshop DLCs, which kind of really didn't add a whole lot of content to the game that you could play. You know, when Far Harbor came out, it was broken. It didn't work. When Nuka World came out, Nuka World was a little bit, it fell short of what a lot of people thought it was going to be. I thought it was good, but it fell short of what a lot of people thought it was going to be. You know, I knew it was going to be a theme park with different sections, and it fell short of what a lot of people thought it would be. And it made a lot of people upset. You know, Far Harbor was broken for the longest time across all platforms almost. And to where if we look at, you know, and the DLCs that came with Fallout 4, the DLCs that were in Fallout 4, there was really only two main ones, you know, Far Harbor and basically, what is it? I just said it too. Nuka World, and you also had Automatron, which added some content. The rest were really workshop DLCs that really didn't add any content. You know, with the main three, Nuka World, Far Harbor, Jesus, it took me a long time to think of that. I don't know why. I say them and then I forget them. You also had Automatron, which really didn't add a whole lot of content. They weren't the best DLCs. They weren't the most interesting, you know. They really had a good story and then it would end off weak, or it had a weak story and would end off strong, and it wasn't super interesting or amazing. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't something that most people were blown away with. To where if we look at Fallout New Vegas, you have DLCs like Dead Money, you had Honest Hearts, you had Old World Blues, Lonesome Road, you had the Courier Stash and the Gunrunner Arsenal. In Fallout New Vegas, you had a lot of things that added more content, that added a lot more stuff to do in game, that added, you know, that focused on adding gameplay rather than, you know, just stuff for the settlements that could have been included for free and like updates. You know, Fallout New Vegas had a much better DLCs in my opinion. You know, they added a lot more. They were a lot more interesting. They added a lot more content than the ones in Fallout 4. They added interesting, awesome places that you wanted to go, that you were transported to, rather than kind of forced to go to. I feel like the Fallout New Vegas DLCs were far better than the ones in Fallout 4. Moving on to the next thing I think Fallout 4 did better was better enemies. You know, enemies I was scared of in Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3, I wasn't scared of going into Fallout 4. I remember the first time I encountered a Yogwai. I was like, oh my god, this Yogwai is going to tear me up. It's going to kill me. It got close to me and really didn't do that much damage, and I was able to kill the Yogwai pretty easy. The same thing with the Deathclaws. Once you get really high level, you know, in Fallout 4, the enemies that are supposed to be super tough and super scary become super easy and super weak. To where in Fallout New Vegas, a scary enemy stays scary. A scary enemy can still jack you up, like the Cazadors, which are just the most fearsome things ever. You have the Deathclaws, which are super scary as well. Sure, once you get into a higher level in New Vegas, you can go ahead and mess up the ones in, you know, you could go ahead and mess up the higher level enemies in New Vegas as well. But I feel like Fallout 4 just had much more... Fallout New Vegas had much better enemies than the ones in Fallout 4. I feel like the enemies in Fallout 4 fell flat. You know, they weren't interesting, they weren't unique, to where when you go to, you know, Fallout New Vegas, all the enemies are interesting, all the enemies are unique, you know, and I just feel like the enemies were more interesting in Fallout New Vegas than they were in Fallout 4. And I felt like there was more enemies to encounter in Fallout New Vegas than there is Fallout 4. Now guys, the next thing I think that Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4 was immersion and a more interesting world. I think Fallout New Vegas created a world which you wanted to explore, which was beautiful and amazing at the same time. It was fun. You wanted to keep exploring. It wasn't cluttered with cities, or it wasn't cluttered with random markers. It wasn't cluttered with, nonsense. It was a really well made, well designed map. Fallout New Vegas was. It was really interesting. It was really fun to play on that map. Each place that you go to has a purpose. Fallout 4, you go to a lot of these places and they have no purpose. They're just there to be there, to add something to the game. To where Fallout New Vegas adds a much better world. There's a lot more places that are funner to explore. There's a lot more places that are cooler and more interesting to explore than the ones in Fallout 4. Sure, Fallout 4 is a fun game to explore on its own, walk through the cities and stuff like that. I feel like Fallout New Vegas was a much better, well-made game. If we look at a city in Fallout 4, it's real cluttered and confusing sometimes. In Fallout New Vegas, when you go into a city, you know where you're going. It's nice, it's open, it's interesting, it's fun. And I really liked Fallout New Vegas because they added a lot of cool, awesome places. And I just felt like Fallout New Vegas was a much more interesting world than the one that Fallout 4 had created. I felt like I was much more immersed in that world. I felt like I wanted to explore that world much more than I do the one with Fallout 4. So guys, moving on to the next and probably last thing, I think Fallout New Vegas basically does better than Fallout 4 is special skill and character creation. Although I loved the immersive character creation in Fallout 4, I loved the voice protagonist, I felt like the creation system of Fallout New Vegas was much better. Sure, you couldn't do as much, but there was still a lot to do. You could customize your character how you wanted to customize them. You could create them how you want to create them. And it was really awesome, kind of what you could do with Fallout 4 as well. However, when it comes to things like skills and special, I feel like Fallout New Vegas nailed it. They executed it. Every Fallout game should have been like that, to where Fallout 4 kind of fell flat with their skills and stuff like that. In Fallout New Vegas, when you leveled up, you got to choose a perk, you get to assign points to the skills you want to use. You get to, choose where your special goes. Special actually means something, because if you put a bunch of points into one special category, you lose out on a bunch of perks and traits that are super useful in game. If you want to basically level up, when you level up, you could level up the skills you want to level up. You're basically not forced to assign your special skills to something that you don't want them in. If we look at Fallout 4, it's really kind of playing to your strengths, if you will. The special system is kind of messed up. You only have so much you could do. If you want lock picking, you have to increase your perception or something like that. If you want stealth, you have to increase your agility. If you want strength, if you want to be able to carry more, you have to be able to increase your, strength all the way. If you want to just do any basic skills, you might have to level up that branch further to obtain those basic skills like lockpicking and stuff like that, which really isn't cool because, I feel like Fallout 4, the special system, kind of forced you to upgrade the special to, just be able to even unlock, certain perks like lockpicking, guns, stuff like that. I feel like Fallout 4 kind of forced it on you, to whereas Fallout New Vegas's character creation system, their skill system, their trait system, I felt like it was much more fluid, much better. When you leveled up, you got experience for everything. When you leveled up, you got to put, your points where you want to put them. You get like 20, 25 point, 15 to 20 points, something like that. It depends because there are certain perks where you could get 2 extra points each time, but you got to choose basically a point system where you could assign it to lockpicking. You got to basically level up the skills that you wanted to level up. You got to choose the traits that you wanted to choose rather than being locked in and forced into a situation kind of with Fallout 4. If you wanted to lift heavier items, strength, Fallout 4, it felt like their creation system, their skill system was much more messed up than the one in Fallout New Vegas. I feel like the skill system and creation system in Fallout New Vegas was much more fluid. You got to level up the skills you wanted to use. You got to, choose interesting, awesome perks. Kind of what we've seen with Skyrim. And then you go from Skyrim to Fallout 4, and it feels much more forced and locked, of a special system, of a creation system, of a skill system than the one in a game like Skyrim. Also, Fallout New Vegas, like I said, I feel like that had a much more better skill system, a much better special system, to where your special skill actually meant something. It actually affected you, in game. I just felt like Fallout New Vegas's, skills, their special system, I felt like it was much better than the one in Fallout 4. The one in Fallout 4 made you feel forced to pick certain things sometimes, and I really didn't like that about the one in Fallout 4. I couldn't level up the skills I wanted to unless I leveled up my special. To where Fallout New Vegas, I got to choose all this. I have skills, that I could level up, but if I want certain perks or traits, then I have to, have special skill in that category. And I think that's a much better one than the one in Fallout 4. Because the one in Fallout 4, you have to have not only the special points in that category, but you have to also basically level up to choose the skill that you want. And I felt like the Fallout 4 skill system, their level up system, their, trait system was much more blocky and much more constricted than the one in Fallout New Vegas. And I think Fallout New Vegas had a way better creation system for characters, a way better skill system, and a way better leveling system than the one in Fallout 4. But that was just my opinion, because you get to level up the skills you want to in Fallout New Vegas. The traits, that you want to choose don't affect you as much as they do in Fallout 4. I felt like the stuff in Fallout New Vegas was much better than Fallout 4, creation system wise, skill wise, and leveling system wise in general. Now, keep in mind, guys, I am not bashing or hating on Fallout 4. This is not what this video is about. I thought Fallout 4 was a very good and complete game. I felt like it was lacking some fundamental things, but I am not bashing or hating on it. This is just me explaining 10 things that I like better in Fallout New Vegas, or 10 things that I thought Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4. And finally, last but not least, the thing I think Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4 was the hardcore mode. We had a hardcore mode in Fallout 4 where you have to eat, sleep, stuff like that, where you could become sick, where you could become ill. And you have the one in Fallout New Vegas, which is much simpler. You could become sick, you could become ill, you could become dehydrated, you could starve. I feel like the one in Fallout New Vegas was much more complete and much better than the one in Fallout 4. In Fallout 4, it felt like it was much more of a challenge to survive rather than actually play the game. To the one in New Vegas, the hardcore system, the hardcore mode, was fun to play. It wasn't insane. You didn't need to focus on your character's needs every 30, 45 seconds. In Fallout 4, you got to focus on your character every other minute with the hardcore mode. I understand that's what hardcore mode is supposed to be, but Fallout 4's hardcore mode is a little bit too hardcore. Fallout New Vegas's hardcore mode is a little better. It's a little easier on the character, the player. You don't have to focus on the character each and every single minute, making sure he's not sick, making sure he's fed properly, making sure he's hydrated, and stuff like that. You can actually play the game, but with just an extra added challenge than what you have with, normally. I feel like Fallout New Vegas executed a better hardcore mode than the one in Fallout 4. I felt like it was much nicer, much more simpler, much cleaner than the one in Fallout 4. I feel like the one in Fallout 4 made you focus on your character way too much, to the point where the game almost becomes unplayable unless you stay on top of your character stuff all the time. The one in Fallout New Vegas, you had to focus on your character, but not to the point where it started to affect gameplay and make the game not fun. In Fallout 4, the hardcore mode's a little too hardcore in my opinion. In Fallout New Vegas, I think it's perfect. You don't have to focus on your character every minute. You could still play the game, enjoy the game, but with just an extra added challenge. To where Fallout 4's hardcore mode is extremely, extremely hard, or their survival mode is extremely, extremely hard. I feel like the Fallout New Vegas hardcore mode, the difficulty was much more interesting and funner than the one, than the survival mode in Fallout 4. And I feel like the hardcore mode in Fallout New Vegas was much better done than the one in Fallout 4. You know, Fallout 4 is, like I said, was just focusing on your character all the time, really hardcore, every 10 minutes, 5 minutes your character needs something. To the one in where Fallout New Vegas, your character might need something less often. It's much more funner to play Fallout New Vegas's hardcore mode, in my opinion, than the one in Fallout 4. So yeah, guys, those are 10 things that I think Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4. Now keep in mind, this was just my 100% honest personal opinion. There are certain things that I think Fallout 4 did better than Fallout New Vegas, kind of like a voice protagonist. I thought Fallout 4 had a much better, heart-grabbing, much more emotional story than Fallout New Vegas had. Keep in mind, I'm not bashing or hating on Fallout 4, saying it's a bad game. And I want to make sure that message is clear, because often when I make these videos, people assume that I'm talking bad about Fallout 4, when I'm really not, when I really love the game and think it's interesting and very fun. But I still think Fallout New Vegas did a much better job with certain things than Fallout 4 did. And yeah, that's just my opinion. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. What do you guys think Fallout New Vegas did better than Fallout 4? Leave it in the comment section down below. What do you guys think Fallout 4 did better than Fallout New Vegas? Leave it in the comment section down below. If you have an idea on what we should talk about next video, please leave it in the comment section down below. Anyways, I love each and every single one of you. I hope to see you guys right back here tomorrow. And remember, stay freaky.